Hello. What is up, Donnie? Overachiever. Every time. I didn't have to camp in a field. I chose to camp in a field. Technically, I was like under some trees next to a field, but there were definitely cows, occasionally rubbing up on my camper this morning. What's even going on? Anyway, since I guess I forgot this part, hello and welcome to the Dead Dodge Garage. Super boring Sunday streaming special, camped in a field edition. No, you must not have seen the community post. I just got a truck camper, picked it up last week. I installed some airbags. I think I finished them at like 5 p.m. yesterday. Good stuff. Lucky number 42. Hey, Lovejoy, how's it going? Twisted Mopar Garage in the house. How you doing? No, not tent camping. The other kind. Something's missing. It's my hat. Ugh. Check this out. This is just what my hair does. I have this crazy cowlick right here. Yeah, at least the part kind of filled in, but it's definitely thin up there. That is not ideal. How's it going, Dan? Rich Jordan's here as well. Hey, Rich. HDF2 is with us and says, what up, DDG? Back at it again, huh? Every week. Every week. Big Wrench says, oh, yeah, I said the truck got a hat. Yes, the truck got a hat. Indeed. One-Eyed Cat says, boring Sunday. You are correct. Yeah. I considered making that joke, but then I didn't. Permanent bedhead, yes. That's just what it's like. And it sticks up back here. The longer it gets, the worse it is. It's very much like Sonic the Hedgehog. There. That's just what happens. It's part of the experience. No, a cow did not lick me. J-Myers here and says, another Sunday. Every week. Same bat time, same bat place. Rooster says, still no spark. Let's talk ignition. So you put a box in it. It was running. You opened the hood and it died. Rooster's got a 70s Dodge truck and it was sitting there running. He washed it so things were wet. He opened the hood and it died. And I was thinking, water down the distributor, water in the, water causing a short somewhere. He says this also happened once before and he just wiggled the wires under the column and it magically ran. So I'm not quite sure where to go with that. You've got ignition power. And if you have ignition power, I'll just go ahead and assume it sounds normal cranking over and we're probably not dealing with a, broken timing chain, distributor not turning type situation. You also said you tried a different distributor and spun it out of the engine and it still didn't spark. Have you resistance checked the coil? Thought? I mean, you've only got 3 components there. A distributor that triggers a box, and a coil. Okay, 4, I guess, if you count the ballast resistor, but you already checked for voltage at the coil and you have it. So, no, the engine turns over. It died while it was running and it turns over. The starter relay's fine. Rocco Bukako is here and says, no work tomorrow. Let's party. Steve Ledford is here and says, howdy from the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. There's a song. Let's see if I can remember it. Where do you intend to go tonight? I heard that you missed your connecting flight to the Blue Ridge Mountains over in Tennessee. You're ever welcome with me anytime you like. Let's drive to the countryside, leave behind some green night look-alike. So no one gets worried, no. foxes. Howdy, Steve. How's it going? I did not get licked by a cow. My dog very much wanted to lick a cow. Sir Swerve is here and says, beard is coming back. Yeah, I was keeping it trim for a few days, but then I went camping. I think I'm going to leave it naked for a while. I don't know. It's just awkward like this. Oh, that's a good one. Big Ranch says we can talk about near death from rag joints. Yeah, so the 73 and up B-body has a truck style rag joint under the normal steering joint. And Donnie's broke in the car he just bought. And he could have crashed and died. He didn't, luckily. But yeah, not good. One-Eyed Cat says, my hair was shorter than that, and the wife just cut it down to nothing an hour ago. Wow. Hey, hello. Hi, Avon. How's it going? What's the hip-hop happening? Sir Swerve says, question, what is your favorite Mopar of them all? 1968 Dodge Charger. Easy answer. Busted Radial Garage is here and says, what's up, all? Not much up with me. Just, another Sunday. Donnie knows what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it. Yeah, I mean, coils, you already tested both the other things. So, my traditional coil check is coil wire off, sitting next to ground. And actually, that doesn't work with the electronic box because it shorts out the negative of the coil. So you'd have to unplug the box first and then just jump negative to ground and off, and you should get a spark every time. Or resistance check it, or just test a spare one. Ross, he's got voltage to the coil. JMR, he's got voltage to the coil. And also, if the fusible link goes, you get no headlights, no cranking, no nothing. His truck cranks, but has no spark. That's enough out of you, Donnie. Uh-huh. I've never actually seen that movie. I don't know why. I've seen that clip, but I've never seen that movie. Lovejoy says we could talk about Beetles and how they're awesome. I've had two. I had a 75. It was pretty robin's egg blue. It was originally a fuel injected one, I think, that someone had converted to carburetor. It had an electric fuel pump and one of those dumb little twist regulators. And it was really fun to about 35 miles an hour. Ripping through the gears, pretty fun. Not bad. Ran out of poop at, about 40 miles an hour. It just wasn't fast anymore. And when I would try to go highway speed up hills, it would drain the float bowl. And I didn't really know anything then. This was like years ago. But I remember having to pull into the shoulder and just like slow down and let it, okay, and then go. But it was neat. Anyway, really liked that car. It was pretty nice. Later, I had a 72. It was not nice. And I was going to try and restore it. In fact, in the Valiant video from Friday, you could, when I was showing the historical pictures, there was one of the Duster having the slant six put in it, and my Beetle was there parked next to it. Total piece of junk. But I like them, really do. I've had a couple. I'm sure someday I'll have another one. I've only had later 70s Beetles. Technically Super Beetles because they have the strut suspension, but I've never had one with the curved windshield. I've only had the flat ones. But anyway, debating doing a video on the Beetle. Not sure if my audience will care for it. Yeah, that is the question. Hard to say. It's probably worth a shot. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. There's only one way to find out. A Beetle is very much like a Subaru in many regards. Yeah, I think I just, grab one. You've got to have a box of 20 coils. Just throw one on there and see what happens. And yes, you could also do this. Of course, you'd need 3 hands or test light, coil negative, sure, with power off the battery, and then crank it at the relay and sure, see if it flashes. That would accomplish the same thing. But me, you've already tested both the other components, just test a coil. It's 2 wires. It's not hard. Right there on top. Mr. PF Flyer is with us again and says it's July. Time to get the Dodge Caliper winter beater all ready for the upcoming winter. Oh, is it that time already? Be prepared applies to life in Minnesota. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Rooster said live from the campfire. We've got s'mores. Oh, wow. Excuse me. Donnie sent me a picture and said, sold that before I left Alabama. That is a sweet looking Beetle. Man, I always wanted to lower mine. I saw a beautiful one once with slot mags on it, lowered, and it had a roof basket. It was black, and I really liked that. It was kind of always in my dream for one of those, but never happened. Dust Devil Garage, the other DDG, is with us again this week, except he's not on the screen. He's in the comments right there. How's it going, man? Good times. If you guys didn't catch it, I actually included a snippet of my chat with him in the restoration video. I think I put that out on Tuesday, and strangely, it did very well. I don't know what that's about. And then, of course, the Valiant video on Friday also did very well. I released an update on the 79-300, and it did okay. It didn't do as well as my other recent videos. It's kind of going nuts around here. So anyway, I did actually drive that car, which was super cool. Tiny says, I had enough electrical this weekend. When I hit the brake and the radio turns on, that's enough for me. Yep. Bell James says, better late than never. Bell here. How's it going, man? Nick Dirkett says, open in the plug wire from coil to distributor. Possible. Definitely possible. I recently saw a burned coil wire. This was on a 66, I think, Dodge camper truck, actually, with this crazy 60s, 70s electronic ignition conversion. And it was a big fancy coil with a control box built in, I think, but it used your other stock ignition parts. And it apparently puts out so much juice, it just fries the coil wire. So when I took it apart, like this much of it was just burned, and the spark was jumping a gap like that. Now, the crazy thing is it ran and drove that way, but it didn't run that great. So yeah, that's definitely possible, but you're going to have, usually with a coil wire, you'll have evidence, a burn, a split, something like that. The other wires, and I suspect it's because of, the coil's got more poop. The spark has more poop when it's coming straight out of the coil, right? By the time it gets all the way over here, dead wires are totally common, but I've only really seen it with coil wires when they are crispy. So that's just my experience. Stage Zero Jason's here with us and says, howdy. Decided to finally try driving to the vacuum gauge in the little red truck to get better miles a gallon. Got a whole 1 mpg better to 8.5. What's wrong with that truck? It should get like 12 to 16, I think. Does it still have, wait, yeah, yours is 79. So does it still have cats? Mm-hmm. Rodney Bird says, oh, Beetles, I'm assuming. Cool little cars, but I've been a mechanic for 41 years now, and I've never worked on a single one. Interesting. Yeah, I've fiddled with a few of them. Michael Hatfield's with us and says, evening all, I have a 69 Beetle. Very cool. Yeah, like I say, I'm a bit of a fan. I'm a Mopar guy, but I do appreciate a good Beetle. Rooster says, you're saying turn on key, disconnect negative side with a jumper, go to ground, check spark. Yep. On, off, on, off, on, off. Every off, it should spark. There you go. And that'll just, it's just a quick, easy coil test. But you can't do it with the negative connected to the box. You can also just pop the connector off the box. Does the same thing, whichever one's easier. Jaybird is here and says, hey, dude, got my Coronet up to rocket on Friday. Got to meet the gang. Check out the shop and chat with Tom. Really nice guy. Pretty excited for you guys to work some magic on her. Cheers. Cheers to you, Jaybird. Yes, I heard it made it there. Excuse me. I wasn't there, obviously, on Friday. I'm usually there Tuesday through Thursday. Of course, this next week with the holiday, I'm actually not going to be back there till Wednesday. But yeah, I'm looking forward to messing with that. I know you gave the go ahead to do video with it, so I'm looking forward to it. Little hot rod shop, of course, the owner of the Barracuda there, which you guys should probably recognize by now, Mitchell, says, I'm not a Beetle guy, but I'm restoring a Myers Manx. Yes, and actually, I could prove that because I've been getting update pictures, and it's pretty cool. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, this was just the other day. He put a fresh paint job on this thing, and it looks pretty damn good. Oh, yeah. He custom built floors. Oh, yeah, that's funny. The Barracuda's right in the background. Custom built floors for it. Obviously did the paint and body, shiny new tires, rebuilt the engine, I believe. He was bragging about that. Pretty cool. It looks really nifty. I've never really, well, I've seen that one in person before he started on it. I've never had any experience with that, but I'm sure it's like a Beetle, but slightly faster and fun on the beach. Yeah. Mohawk 62 is here and says, hello, everyone. How's it going? Is that a Valiant? What is that? Oh, wait. No. Belvedere? Nah, I can't tell. Too small. It's got to be a B-body, though. I'm thinking Belvedere. And I'm thinking 66. But it's really hard to tell. Stage 0 Jason says, loving the 300. Of course, it would go nice with my 3 other 79 Mopars. Yes, it would. Well, someone else in the comments today said, I would like to buy this car. I'm not ready to sell. I got plans. Wicked plans. Nah, not that wicked, but I do want to drive it. I won't keep it forever, just saying. Bob's here. Good evening, Bob. How's it going there? Bigfoots and Mopars here with us again and says, howdy. How's it going there? Rich Jordan says, truck example sounds like the capacitive discharge units they used to make as upgrades. Yeah, that's what it is. It's some type of fancy. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember who made it. It was ancient. I'd never seen it before. It was some kind of fancy ignition upgrade. My 64 Power Wagon also has some crazy period electronic upgrade, but it's not the big coil box thing. It's a separate box on the firewall or on the inner fender. Bell James says, oh, yeah, and that's definitely possible. Maybe the fact of it being holiday weekend, people aren't looking at the YouTube. The 300 video was awesome. Yeah, I thought it was cool. Pretty exciting for me. You know, again, it got the views. I think last I checked, it was at almost 4,000, and that's great. It's just compared to my, for some reason, all of my recent videos have been doing quite well. And part of it definitely has to do with the subscriber count and the increased attention from Uncles Tony. But yeah, anyway, I thought it was a good video. It was a little shorter than what I would have liked to have done. I would have liked to have gotten the brakes done in that video, but it didn't happen. In fact, I ordered all the parts at O'Reilly. I didn't pick them up in time. They sent them back, and now I have to wait. It always takes a while for them to restock things like that, so I might not get the left caliper for a while. We'll see. Alice Chalmer is here with us and says, why you cut all your hair off? Because I said I would shave the beard and cut my hair when I hit 10,000 subscribers, and I did that a week and a half ago. And then I hit 11,000 subscribers 4 days later. And I'm almost at 12 now. So that's why. The beard will grow back. The hair, I'm not gonna grow the hair back. I do think I'm gonna keep the shave for a while. You know, it's different. But I'll have you guys know I did get carded yesterday when I went to restock on cider. Or was it 2 days ago? I don't know, but whenever it was. And I made a sound like, yeah, okay, I knew this was coming. And I think the lady thought I was complaining about being carded, but I was, anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, Rich Jordan says, is Stage 0 garage in an EPA attainment area? The special fuel required there can majorly impact fuel economy. Oh, interesting. I don't know anything about that. But he is in Wisconsin. Lovejoy says, I've been looking for a Beetle for a while. This guy made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Traded a junk truck and the problematic red short box for it. Saved me the trouble of reinstalling the trans. Nice. Sounds good to me. HDF2 says, would a beer on the fender help, Rooster? Or maybe pour out some oil for the Dodge Gauge? Damn it. No, what you have to do, and I've tried this several times this week, so I can tell you for sure, certain, speaking is becoming a problem. So I apologize to anyone playing the Dead Dodge Garage drinking game, which reminds me, hit the like button on the stream if you haven't done that yet. Anyway, blood sacrifice. What? This is, everything's backwards on my camera if you don't know that. I have made several blood sacrifices to the Mopar gods in the last week. Several. That is what they demand. Peter Griffin is here with us. That's amazing. And he says, yo, new sub. Thanks for being here. Appreciate that. Nick Deerkitz says, I have a rough 66 Charger and want to do the 3-pedal solution. Did you ever solve the console plate hole issue? I sold the car before I did that. My friend David Rodemacher has it. Sometimes he's in the comments. Last time I saw it, he had the console sitting back in it. He's got new carpet put in it. He had the shifter just sitting there and no top plate. The solution is you cut a bigger hole. I've seen people do it online. The problem is if you cut it in the factory location, the original automatic hole is slightly visible down at the bottom. So what I decided I should have done, but didn't get around to doing, is just cut the hole lower down. And then I was going to tweak the shifter back a little bit, which would line up with the hole once I had moved it. Reason being, the pistol grip is huge, and in the 66, you punch the dash. You know, it was never meant to be in a 66. They weren't thinking of that. So I was going to just tweak the shifter fitment slightly, either oval a hole or make an adapter piece that, you know, offset it or something. I didn't get to that. You can just buy a 4-speed console plate. The other consideration, which I showed on video, I cut, there's supposed to be a cover on the side. And the 4-speed console is actually cut way higher on the side there. I cut it 3 times and it still wasn't enough. So, yeah, I never finalized that myself. Hopefully he does. But there are plenty of people that have done it. There are forum posts on like for B-Bodies Only and places like that. That's what I was looking at. And the ones I saw, they cut the hole in the factory location and then they like, what do? They like just made a little filler piece for, you know, to cover the extra bit from the automatic shifter. So yeah, your mileage will vary. I did not get that far. Bigfoots and Mopars, who is here with us again after I feel like a long absence, says, took my 67 RT for an open header romp through the subdivision. Figured if we're all making celebratory noises. Oh yeah, America. Okay, it is a scamp. I was thinking, you know, Valiant nose at first, and then the scoop, I think, threw me. And it's just so small. Does it look funny when I disappear like this, trying to see? Anyway, 71 Plymouth Scamp, 440 Pro Street. Nice. Very cool. Scott Prado is checking in until I start talking about Dodges, so I'm sure he is left by now. He also says, sorry about disappointing Sadie, but I did get the parts for the radical lift I'm planning. Can I get some time on your lift sometime? On the Prius, right? Yeah, the Prius can go on the lift. If you're lifting the Dodge, no, it's about 2,000 pounds too heavy. Also, we're fine. We got enough dogs. Donnie says, with that being said, does anybody have a 4-barrel air cleaner for a small block, 71 through 74? I'm almost 100% sure Tom has one. Haven't gotten a chance to look yet. You know, I hope we can come up with something. Matthew B says, okay, now I don't know what reality I'm in. Saw you without the beard, then today's video had the beard, now live stream, no beard. Jane, get me off this crazy thing. I tried to get out ahead of that one by mentioning in the subscriber special that I had actually Already filmed a couple videos with the beard. The 300 video, the Valiant video as well. So Friday's video and yesterday's video, I still had a beard. And then the next actual video that I'm not quite done with it, but it's on a little older car than I usually do on the channel. Still pretty cool. Big success for me if it runs. Either way, we're making progress. But in that video, I'm fully behind the camera for the first while of it, and then I poke my head in front of it and say, "Oh, hey, by the way, my beard's gone." So anyway, yeah, something about you can carbon date when I filmed videos by if I still have a beard or not. There's only no, I think that's it for the videos. That's not true. No, there's the Studebaker video I'm still working on, and I have a beard for everything I've filmed up till now. The 64 Power Wagon video, I have a beard, and then somewhere in the middle, when I get back to it, I won't have a beard anymore. And I think there's another one that Crew Cab Dodge video, but I don't think I'm in front of the camera for any of that. Speaking of this weekend's video, what do you guys think of my brother's Valiant? A couple commenters said they want to see more. So now, funny story, after I did that video, parked it in the driveway and it wouldn't start, and he switched the ignition module and it started, but it runs like butt. So there's something wrong there. So I think, the people want to see more of it. That's what the commenters said. They want to see more of it. They want to see me work through the issues, which are many. So I think I will do that. And then the reward will be the burnouts at the end when the drive shaft isn't going to fall out and it maybe has full throttle. So anyway, just wondering what you guys think of that car. I think it's pretty cool. I almost bought it from him once. It didn't happen, thankfully. Got a Demon instead, but pretty neat. Donnie, if you want a dual Starkle, it won't be cheap. That's absolutely true. Ross says shaving off 10 years is a nice option as you get older. Indeed. Indeed. It's nice to have that option available. Bobby's B is here and says, cranked my 68B today. Timing sucks. If you want some pointers, watch my video called The 5-Minute Fix. And I just discuss how I randomly stab timing, and it's worked pretty well for me so far. 52 of you out there, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, we're not as loaded on questions this week. We had a lot last week when I had the other DDG here, and there was a lot going on. So very much appreciate everyone that keeps coming back week after week. If you've got any questions or, constructive criticism or that kind of thing, feel free to share it, and feel free to hit the like button on the stream because it does stuff for the thing with the deal. XLMI, which I assume that's Roman numerals, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, says, who's this kid and what have you done with the real dead Dodge dude? Last week, my friend Connor, whose ranch we were staying at, his family's ranch, last week, he popped in and said, you remind me of a friend of mine. You sound just like him. I'm not Jamie. I killed Jamie. I'm Steve. Umpalaya says, Jamie, can't get this damn idle to go up on my 5.2 Magnum. IAC, TPS, EGR, O2, nothing. Idles at 200 RPM, and if you let it sit, gauge drops further to 0. Dies at stops in gear on decel. Okay, first off, that's weird. Second off, it couldn't possibly be 200 RPM. There's no way a Magnum idles at 200 RPM. I'd say, man, even 500 would be really low for a Magnum. OBD1 Magnums, that's 95 and back, they tend to idle low, and they don't, in my experience, they generally don't do the same rev up and then fall down thing that the OBD2 ones do, 96 and up. And I always think there's something wrong with this, but every one of those trucks I've messed with is just like that. They just don't do that. They always idle pretty low. And I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know if they just didn't have the ramp or if the idle air valves are always bad or what, but if the gauge drops to 0, but it's still running. Obviously, it's not truthfully at 0 RPM. Dying at stops in gear. That could be a torque converter lockup issue. The Magnum swap in my 66 Charger, before I did the 3-pedal solution, did exactly that. And not all the time, but some of the time. So by any chance, do you have access to a timing light that has a built-in tachometer? The nicer ones with the dial back function, or the digital timing lights, those will have that. Or just a performance type tachometer, something like that. You might try and compare the reading on an external tach with the reading in your dash tach and just see if they are the same or very much not the same. Because you might be trying to fix a low idle issue that's actually not as low of an idle as you think, and you actually have a torque converter type issue. I mention that because if this is an automatic truck, I assume it is, because you wouldn't be in gear at a stop. I have seen torque converters that just don't unlock several times in those trucks. So that is a possible problem. The idle is not adjustable, as you know. I don't really have anything else helpful. I mean, you've changed all the parts that could have anything to do with it. I could see a high idle from a vacuum leak or something. But yeah, I would look into those things. You know, verify what the RPM really is. If you have some way of doing that, just see what it is. You could also send me a video of it running, just for fun. If you don't have my email, it's jamienoise@gmail.com. I think you might, because in the next comment you said, this is the rebuild you helped so much with. I'm so close. Please just help with this last thing. I'm sorry. And then also, you rock and are the spitting image of a guy I miss working with. Well, that's weird. He dropped everything and moved to Mexico to weld and catch live shows. That's interesting. Very interesting. Oh, Bigfoots and Mopar says I usually work 7 to 7 on, oh, gotcha, on Sundays. So I catch a lot of lives the day after. Right on. I understand. Noah Know-How is here with us, and it's been so long since he joined a live. His picture's of Ford now. Noah says, howdy, Jamie. Sorry, I've been vacant from the lives recently. Been watching all your videos and catching up on the lives, albeit from weeks ago. I'm all caught up now, though. It's okay. It's all good. Actually, Noah messaged me. Was that today? I think it was while I was camping, and I got the message today. Excuse me. Something about having some Mopar flags for me, or banners, which is cool. Michael Hatfield says, really looking forward to the Studebaker video. Yeah, me too. I almost got that thing fired up. Well, this was in the 11,000 subscriber special, actually. I almost got it to fire up, and now I have a starter problem. With no ignition, it cranks just fine. But now that I have the ignition wired, with a bit of fuel down the carb, just trying to get it to bark off, it grinds the starter like you wouldn't believe. And I was thinking too much timing. I backed off the timing. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I've got the starter cockeyed or something. So that's my next nightmare. After that, hopefully it runs, but we'll see. Still need to get a driveline made. I've got a yoke in it right now. But yeah, I am looking forward to getting it running and then driving out of my life. And Dave would very much like his car back as well. And it's somehow July already. It was supposed to run last July, so that sucks. But we're getting there. Please work. Also, he owes me money. It would be great to be paid as well, but that's on me. Jaybird says, Jamie, any experience with gas tank relocations on 60s truck / power wagon? Been looking at options on the Sweatline forums, which are many, but what saith you? Why do you want to relocate it? Do you not like huffing gas? I love huffing gas. Mustang tank seems to be what everybody does. There's a Mustang, and I can't tell you what year, but I know it's on the forums. You've probably already seen it. There is a Mustang tank that, for whatever reason, fits in those Dodge trucks in the back really well. In fact, I think people use it in other Dodge trucks as an auxiliary tank. I'm not really sure what they do for the filler panel. I just know that that's something I've read several times. Lots of camper special trucks came with saddle tanks. They're made by Gem, and you'd have one left, one right. The gold truck in my video from a couple of weeks ago has that set up. They're not in use anymore. I have one of those same gem tanks in my 48 Power Wagon. That's the main fuel tank in that truck. So those are an option, but they don't have a gauge sender. They're just an auxiliary tank. So that's annoying. You could always hack one in there some way or another. There are universal senders that are the correct resistance range. So there are options. You could always look into a 70s Dodge bed tank, side tank, whatever. But then you're going to have to figure out filler as well. Got a hole in the bed. There are ways to go. I've never been down that road myself. I've always somehow gotten lucky. The tank in the gold truck somehow is perfectly fine. No idea how. I don't know how it didn't fill with rainwater and rust to pieces any of the 4 times people broke the gas lid off to steal the gas. No idea. But somehow it's fine. The 64 Power Wagon I've got coming up, I hope I have the same kind of luck. Not sure. But yeah, I've never been there yet myself. Personally, I don't mind a cab tank. So I'd just be looking for a new cab tank. And I know for some swept lines that is challenging. But they are reproduced now, as I understand. So you should be able to find one. Might end up being a different year tank. Umpalaya says, more Valiant. Yeah, okay. Noah says, your brother definitely seems to have similar taste to myself. No door panels, no floor pans, no problems kind of guy, Yes, he is like that. The seats are always junk. The interior is an afterthought. Exhaust leaks are required equipment. Huffing fumes. His duster was that way. We did a road trip to pick up my friend Connor off the boat that he was on down in Oregon somewhere one winter. And my wife and I rode in the car down there with Colin in his duster. And on the way back, we were both in the back seat just huffing fumes and passing out. It was so bad. We took that car to Vegas once to meet the roadkill guys. I patched all the holes with pieces of a dart. I insisted on that before we left. It was only marginally better. So yeah, but he drives his stuff, thousands and thousands of miles on these hunks of junk. He has issues occasionally, but yeah, he's definitely got a type, doesn't he? I like my stuff ratty sometimes as well, but I like to have floors. I like to have nice seats. I like to have not totally horrible exhaust. My standards are just a little higher, I like to think. Matthew B says, your brother's Valiant is wicked smart. It's wicked smart. My boy's wicked smart. Walter G902 is with us again. It says, howdy. I'm finally sending your die-cast care package tomorrow. Yes. I mentioned you on Facebook with a sneak peek of some of the cars coming your way. Cool. Awesome. Hopefully I see that pop up. Very cool. Can't wait. And thanks again. Donnie says, yeah, single snorkel's fine. 4th of July coming up. What kind of pie does everybody like? I like lemon meringue, the lime version of that. I like chocolate pie, blackberry pie, big on that. Any kind of berry pie really is pretty good. Leg Boss says, cheers. Cheers indeed. Hi, Steve, formerly known as Jamie of the Knights of Knee. We are no longer the knights who say knee. We are now the knights who say icky, icky, pakang, pakang, swish, boom. I don't remember the rest. Those guys. We shall say knee to you again if you do not appease us. We demand a shrubbery. Ross says... Yep. Ross says the Valiant has that elusive, bad to the bone Mopar vibe we all strive for in spades. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It just needs a few little things fixed so it can be all that it can be. Blake Gaddis is here and says, holy no beard. Jamie, I'm still looking forward to a Magnum wiring harness video. Just today, someone commented on one of my Magnum videos and said, hey, I searched all over your channel for a wiring guide and I didn't find one. God, I need to do that. Really need to do that. It's been on my list since the start of the channel. Maybe that'll be the 20,000 subscriber special. I'll do my best, Blake, and I apologize. Mark Davis says, have you ever tried to figure out how to use one of the RE transes in a muscle car? Yes, that was the cause of my 3-pedal solution video. Because I used one of those and it died. So then we rebuilt one in my shop. We, being my friend Miles and I, and let's just say we made some minor tactical errors between cleaning pieces and reassembling the transmission. The spacer washer between the input and output shaft disappeared. Found it later in the dunk tank, but it was a little late by then. That transmission didn't last long, and then I gave up and I put a 4-speed in it. But yes, I actually did something I think clever in that car. I moved the engine forward 1.5 inches to the basically the position it was at in a 64B body. And then there was room without hacking the floor or the cross member. I did some grinding on the transmission and put it in there. I just randomly found a drive shaft in stock that fit. I don't know how I did that, but I did. Might have been from our van. But yeah. Those transmissions annoy me. But I could do a guide video on it. I don't. It's easy behind a small block. Behind a big block, it's, it's a pain because there's no big block version of the transmission. The RE specifically, you need electronic control to make that work. So either a standalone module, or if you're doing a Magnum swap at the same time, easy. Just use a 98 and up computer. Or is it 97? I can never remember that, but that's what I did. Worked fine. Excuse me. Or use the RH, the 46RH. That's the hydraulic control one. And then you just need the overdrive and lockup controls, and that's easy enough to do. Plenty of kits for that. Umpalaya says late, but it's a 93. 90. Yeah. So nobody won. Yep. They tend to idle kind of low in my experience. So again, try to do that thing I said about using a separate tack or something like that, because it sounds like your gauge is probably messed up. If it says you're idling at 200 RPM, I don't think you are. I don't think that's possible with those engines. So yeah, see about that. And if you want further help, advice, etc., you can email me. Again, it's jamienoise, JAMIENOISE @gmail.com. Feel free to do that. Again, I don't know. You say I helped you. I'll take your word for it. I don't remember. Maybe it was here. Maybe it was an email, but you can always reach me there. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. Have I mentioned that? I think I have. You get semi-frequent updates from me on Instagram, and people do message me on there. It takes me a while to see it because I don't get a notification, but I do eventually see them. So if that's easier, just find Dead Dodge Garage on Facebook or Instagram. W. Barney is with us and says, I just found you this week. Glad I did. Park a Dodge in your garage. It'll stay there forever. Nice. A friend had a 68 RT when I was a teenager. I got caught just at the right time, and I turned into a Dodge guy for life. First, I had a 72 Valiant. Then I had a Scamp. Then I had a Duster. Then I had a Dart, a Dart, a Dart, a Dart. The rest is history. Then I got a $300 75 Power Wagon short bed. Loved that truck. That turned me into a true believer on Dodge trucks. Now I usually have 5. Well, currently I have 3.5 swept lines, the 73 extended, 74 extended cab, the 03 Cummins, the 48 Power Wagon, the crew cab that's not here. I think that's it. So maybe that's however many I just said, 6 or 7. But yeah, I'm a big fan. I love them. Don't know why. It's one of them love-hate type things, what with the electrical problems and the rust, but I just love them. They just speak to me. Anyway, thanks for being here. I appreciate that. I'll try not to disappoint. I said that on video a couple weeks ago, and several people seem to think that I needed positive reinforcement in the comments, which I do appreciate. But anyway, Nick Dirkitz also says, I'm a noob subscriber, but I'm binge watching until I catch up. DDG is my new favorite. Awesome. Thank you very much for that. On the Oh, that was on the Super Bee video that I said that. Yeah, I'll try not to disappoint to all my new subscribers. And several people in the comments said that I'm their favorite YouTuber, the best. This is the best YouTube channel. Like, I just can't even believe that. Anyway, thank you very much. Means a lot. Really does. Bell James says, which caliper were you able to source? Yes, the left. The right one, I got the bleeder open. Again, I haven't tried squishing it or anything. It's not locked up now. We'll see if it stays not locked up once I get it operating. I think the front hoses are both clogged solid. It's not a master cylinder problem. I've got fluid coming out of the master cylinder to the prop valve, but then there's just nothing down there. So I'm going to do all the hoses. And the left caliper is the one I broke the bleeder off in. I was using spray, heat. I didn't even film this, which is just stupid. I was just like, man, I got to get these brakes going. Let's do this. And I got the right one free with a bunch of PB blaster and some heat and some careful back and forth work. But the left side, same thing. And I just got impatient and I reefed it a little too hard, snapped the bleeder off. And I'll be damned if I'm going to try and drill it out. So yes, I got the left coming. So I'm going to do that. And, you know, when the right one fails, we'll do that too. XLMI. If Yoda was telling you he was a base model F-150. Yes. XLMI. All right. I don't know if that was a good Yoda. Probably not. Mopar Benny says, question. My dream hauler is a 93 Dodge Club Cab 4x4 dually diesel. You're going to have to fight me for it. Actually, I don't want a dually. I want a single rear. Just a little more versatile truck, I guess, in my eyes. The dually's a great hauler. I actually had a 93 Club Cab dually. It was a two-wheel drive, and it was a stick. Neat truck, but I really wanted the 4x4 single rear. That's what I'm hoping for, and I'm really hoping to find a clean one day. I found one in a friend's shop like last year, and I kind of like, this is mine. I need this. And he said, it's the girl's grandpa's original owner truck, and she just inherited it, and it ain't going anywhere. But anyway, should I find one with a manual transmission or automatic? I heard automatic transmissions can be troublesome. Yes, they can. The 93 should have overdrive, so that would be a 4.7 RH, I believe. And I think in 93, that's still a non-lockup overdrive automatic, which is dumb. They also had a Torque Flight 3-speed. They called it beefed one, though. They called that the 3.7 RH or whatever. I don't think they were the strongest. I don't think the automatic behind the Cummins was any good until 03 with the 4.8 RE. And even those are, the one in my Cummins has been really good so far. Knock on wood. But yeah, the earlier ones, I don't know. I don't know. I've only ever blown up one automatic behind the Cummins. So your mileage may vary on that one. But I would definitely shoot for the stick. Now, the stick in those is the Getrag, or as some people like to call it, the gut bag. They're okay. They're not amazing. I'm trying to remember what always goes wrong with the Getrag. Is it just synchros? Like they just shift like garbage? I can't remember. And then in 94, you know, with the next body style, they went to the NV 4500, the bigger 5-speed. And they lose fifth gear, which is super cool. And then they went to the NV 5600 6-speed, starting with the HO trucks in 01, I believe. And they're not even the most tough or amazing. And then mid-year, I want to say 06, could be wrong on that, but I believe it's mid-year 06. They finally got the G, whatever the hell it is. It's like a Mercedes truck transmission or something. G56? I can't remember. Something. Anyway, and those are good, finally. But yeah. And you can upgrade any of those other transmissions. The NV 4500, there are replacement main shafts, replacement parts to solve all the problems. And that's great. And you can retrofit those into that first gen Cummins truck. But if you start with a stick truck, that's a whole lot easier. You've already got the hole in the floor. You've already got the pedals. You're pretty close. So I would definitely shoot for a manual for that reason. Now, having wasted a bunch of time saying all of that, I actually like a diesel truck with an automatic. I like towing with an automatic. Rowing gears behind a diesel just feels like work to me. It's not quite the same fun that you get shifting a muscle car. But for longevity, the stick is going to be better. You also need to upgrade the clutch. The stock clutches don't like towing a bunch of weight, and they sure don't like a bunch of power. So keep that in mind. Rooster says, Donnie, I like the southern apple pie you make in a still, and I respect that. Good stuff. Rich Jordan says, question, putting in an A518 OD automatic, so that's the same as the 46RH, the earlier hydraulic control automatic. 0.69 to 1 overdrive ratio. Hopes are enthusiastic weekend cruising, but also able to do a comfortable long freeway jaunt for shows and visits. What rear end ratio range? People usually recommend 355, 373, and you're still going to highway cruise okay. In my 66 Charger, this should be totally wrong, but in my 66 Charger, it still had the factory 323s, and with the overdrive and that same transmission, 4.6RE, but same animal, man, it highway cruised amazing. You couldn't hear the damn engine. It was just smooth. And in the limited testing I got to do, it seemed like fuel was just going so much farther. So yeah, and in that, it didn't feel like it was lugging an overdrive. It seemed like it liked it. It was a 360 Magnum 5.9. Great combination. I can't stress that enough. When that damn transmission worked, I loved it. It was really good. It just didn't work for long. So yeah, I only ever did maybe 3-4 highway trips with it. That was with 323s. And I will say that car still did burnouts down the block, no problem. Same as my 68 does now with the 383 and 3.2 gears. So 3.2s are fine, but you can run 355s, 373s, and you'll still be able to cruise nice on the highway. So there you go. You've got options. If you've got an 8 3/4, you can try them all out. So that's kind of nice. Blake Gatta says, I prefer in-cab tanks. Using hose made for fuel injection helps a lot with the gas smell. Well, the earlier ones, they seem to vent to atmosphere inside the cab. So my 75 always had the gas smell. The more gas you put in it, the worse it was. The 78 Crew does not seem to be as bad. There's a bit of a gas smell. Now, I also have that one plumbed to an external vent. It's mounted actually inside a hole up in the bed of the truck. There's still a slight gas smell, but it's nowhere near as bad. And as far as hose made for fuel injection, I would use Gates Barricade hose. You do not need to use the high pressure stuff, but you need to use Barricade brand. The other stuff disintegrates. But yeah, I don't know on that 75 I just mentioned. I don't know if it was just the sending unit seal was all cracked up. I don't know if it was just poorly venting, if it was the filler neck grommet. I don't know. All I know is if I put $20 of fuel in it, it was okay. If I put $50 of fuel in it, it reeked like you would not believe. So yeah, that smell in that truck is the only reason I could think, hey, maybe I want to fix this. But I would have just fixed it, done a smoke test or something, find the leak, fix the leak, good to go. And Dan says on the old truck tank relocations, I saw where a later underbed tank was used, but it used a cab filler with an extension to the frame mounted tank. Double barrel garage in Canada did that. Yes, I've seen that before. Interesting. Walter G902 says the patina on the Valiant is amazing. Avon's got a hot take. No-bake cheesecake is the best pie. I think I've tried that, and I think it was great. I love cheesecake, all cheesecake. My wife makes excellent cheesecake, but even store-bought is just really good. Something's in my eye. I don't know what's going on here. I do not love it. My mother says, I also love berry pies of all kinds, but my favorite may be cherry. I don't mind cherry, but It has this sharpness to it that the blackberry pie does not. Also, apple pie is the way mother used to make, which is baked in a paper bag. Yes, I don't know how I can forget that. I love the paper bag apple pie. It is amazing. Mr. PF Flyer says humble pie tastes really bad. Yes, it does, and so does crow. Blues Celt. Now there's a name. Blues Celt. Says 2005-9 Magnum swap into 67 A body with A833. How to deal with input shaft interference. On the Magnum with manual swap I did, there was no input shaft interference. Now, do you mean your crank isn't drilled all the way? I haven't really heard of that with the Magnum. I've heard of it with late big blocks. I know that's a thing. The Magnum I swapped into my Charger with a 4-speed, and the Magnum I swapped into our van with a 4-speed. Both, I had no issue with the input shaft. And instead of, or maybe, I wonder if they're not drilled for the early bushing. Maybe that's what you're thinking. I use the later, the 90s Magnum pilot bearing. Goes right in the back of the crank. It's all good. If you're running 2005-9, I assume you're not running the EFI. You're probably running a carburetor, or you'd be asking me about that. I've had a good few videos on that. But yeah, as far as I know with the Magnum, there is no input shaft interference because they were designed to have a stick behind them, and the dimensions are similar. The pilot shaft on the manual transmissions they used then were the same dimension as the A833, as far as I know. They use the same pilot bearing, so they're the same diameter, OD anyway. You shouldn't have input shaft interference. There are other things that can happen. And obviously with the 5.9 Magnum, you need to make sure you've got the correct balance weight on it, either a specific 5.9 Magnum flywheel, which you can buy now, or the flex plate trick that I've done a couple times, but I did that for EFI purposes. You shouldn't have input shaft interference. If you do, okay, yeah, you should be fine. You should be just fine. Use the 90s pilot bearing from a stick truck, and I don't think you'll have a problem. But I have read I've read about late big blocks not being drilled for a stick because the stick wasn't available. And what people do is they take a band, portaband, and they cut the end of the input off and use that same bearing. It's a tiny needle bearing in a bigger, like, steel shell thing, and it taps right into the back of the earlier cranks. That dimension is the same on everything. Is it 68 and up? Before that, the dimension is different, but I believe it's 68 and up. All engines have that same register in the back of the crank, so you just tap that bearing in and you're good to go. That solves the problem. But yeah, you shouldn't have a problem. You should be good to go. Blake Gaddis says, Jamie, I have a 74 camper van. Would you go with the 46RH or stay with the 727? I plan on flat towing a small car with it. Our camper van is a 91. It originally had the 46RH, and that one blew up too, and we put a 4-speed in it. And the 4-speed is an overdrive. I have found, excuse me, that in that van, overdrive is completely useless until like 70 plus miles an hour. It actually gets better fuel economy with the overdrive off. Now, mind you, this is a high top van, and I have no idea what gears are in the rear end. I've never checked, but overdrive seems to lug. I mean, going down the highway at 60 in overdrive, you don't have that takeoff, and you could just tell the engine is not in its happy zone. Now, again, it's probably going to come down to the rear end gearing. I have no idea what it was geared from the factory, but that van was intended to have an overdrive transmission. It had it from the factory. So in that one, I found that the overdrive was extra, and I don't know how to explain that. The re-gearing the rear end would probably make that combination work better, but it also has plenty of takeoff. So I don't really see any need to do that. If you're going to be flat towing a car everywhere, you don't want to use overdrive anyway. It generates extra heat. It is not good for the transmission. And those transmissions especially are not known for their longevity. The 727 tends to be. The 46RH, not so much. you could get use out of the overdrive when you're not towing. But when you're towing, I just don't think, if you're towing everywhere you go, I don't think I'd bother. I think I'd stick with the 727. You're just not going to use the overdrive when you're hauling. You don't want to do that. And now that I'm thinking about it, 74 camper, high top. So yours is very, very similar to our 91 Winnebago van. The rear end gearing would be the only question. I'd say stay 727 and make sure you got a big cooler and a fresh filter. Donnie says, did my 73 come with a lockup torque converter? No. If not, will a lockup torque converter work and will it benefit me on highway speed? No. To the first part, yes. To the latter, but doesn't matter. The lockup converter only works, excuse me, in the lockup transmission. The lockup converter came in 78-ish, but not in all applications. In fact, heavy-duty applications didn't have it, I think, forever. I'm not totally clear on that, but on light-duty applications, they had it starting in 78. If you want a lockup converter, you need the whole transmission. The thing about the early ones, I'm not totally clear on how the lockup engages, but what I am clear on is they don't have outside electronics of any kind, and they do, at least that I've seen, and they tend to drag in gear. The lockup transmission I had cruised great on the highway, but rolling up to a stop, it would like drag the engine down to 500 RPM. Didn't matter where I set the idle, and this is before I knew anything, just so we're clear on that, but it had a lockup transmission. Just sitting at a stop sign and idle, that thing would be at like 500 RPM and wanting to die. It was really, really irritating. And all the reading I did said, yeah, premature lockup or the converter is dragging. It's common with those. Something about fluid in the valve body. It's common for it to like bypass here and it tries locking up that clutch or something. Just does weird stuff. That was my experience with the early lockup. So I don't know that you want that. I don't think it's worth the trouble. I really don't. What's for dinner? Not sure. Probably fast food. Mrs. Jamie cooked us an excellent steak dinner in the camper last night and an excellent, just a cornucopia of breakfast foods this morning, potatoes and eggs and bacon and sausage or steak, not sausage. That was later. So I think she's done cooking for today. So that means I get to cook dinner. And I can cook a little bit, but I'll probably just go buy something or have leftovers. Don't know. Blake Gatta says, you and UTG, that's the Uncle Tony, are my favorite YouTubers. Oh, that's awesome. I just can't even I can hardly fathom being put in the same neighborhood as Uncle Tony now. I like that a lot. Now, mind you, he's still got 280,000 subscribers on me. That's okay. And I may never get there, but I might. We'll see. Anyway, Blake, I really appreciate that. And yeah, Donnie, the lockup did come in 904 or 727. You know, it's the same animal. Rich Jordan says, a lot of info online on building a 4748RE with improvements to stand up behind a Cummins, Sonex parts, etc. Also, you can get a kit to install an Allison behind the Cummins. Yes, you can. The Allison, I thought was really good, and then I find all these people swearing about the Allison because it blows up too, and I've actually had to replace one myself. I'm well familiar with the upgrades you can do. The upgrades to the 47RE, that's you take parts from the 48RE. One of the drums is bigger and it fits right in there. Other parts, this is bad. Everything's bad. I keep getting eyelashes in my eyes or something. I'll just try to not have eyes anymore. Yeah, and of course there are upgraded parts that can go in there. You got your triple disc converter, of course. That's the old standby. Improved valve body is a big one. Better frictions. There's a lot of stuff that can be done. So yeah, you're absolutely right. In general, I exploded one that had all that done to it, but I'm kind of dumb, so I earned it. Anyway, Rooster says, I tried your coil test trick. No spark. Okay, throw a coil at it. See what happens. Because you already verified there's power there. If there's power there and you short it out, pop it off, short it out, pop it off, and you got the coil wire sitting by ground and there's no spark coming out, that's a bad coil. There's nothing else for it. If you verified power first, and you did. Rich Jordan says, also, Mopar diesel and gas, overdrive trans cooling is critical. Yes. So adding extra cooling and keeping all lines 3/8 or better can help longevity a lot. And I was going to mention that, but the second gen at least already has a big, gnarly extra transmission cooler, big, gnarly lines. They're already beefed in that department. So there's not a whole lot you can do to that to improve it. I mean, you can add yet another external cooler. That is something you can do. On the first gen, I'm not 100% clear on, I can't remember what their cooling is like. And my answer was so damn long-winded already, I just decided to stay out of there. Yes, you can do that. But yeah. Oh, Mohawk 62 pieced out 9 minutes ago. That's bad math. 11 minutes ago. So now I have to drink twice. And said, gotta go. Have a great 4th, everyone. Thanks for the live, Dead Dodge. You bet, Mohawk. Thanks for being here. Have a good holiday. Donnie says, Rooster, the sparking device is anus. Walter G says, apple pie is the best, hands down. Don't ask me how I forgot about apple pie. I can't tell you. I was just thinking about blackberry. I don't know why I'd be thinking about blackberry pie. I have literally no idea. XLMI says, just rebuilt 5.7 Hemi and an 05 Ram. Shows no oil pressure until about the 3rd restart. Goes to 10 pounds or so, then drops to 0. Smart guy light comes on. No knock. Has about 70 miles on engine. Okay, pull the factory sender, put a mechanical gauge on it, see what you really got. If it's really 10 pounds and then 0, pump failure, I think even a stuck if you have a stuck bypass, I think you could make nothing at idle, but when you rev it up, it should make pressure, 30, 35 pounds at least. I'm not totally sure what it would be, but a stuck bypass in the pump could potentially do that. A bearing clearance could do that. Obviously, you have no knock. Are you getting lifter tick? Because it could be a sending unit failure too. That's why I say try an external gauge. You could just throw a sender at it. That's what I did on my little brother's 4.7 that had no oil pressure. Then I found out it had no oil pressure because it had no oil in it. Anywho, that was a different thing. Checking it with a mechanical gauge is probably the best way to go. I have a nifty test gauge that I can just take the sending unit out, screw the adapter in there, hook it up. That's how I figured out what was wrong with the Dakota with the 4.7, which I made a video about a couple months ago. But yeah. Rocket Tom dropped in and said, quick check-in tonight. Headed back from the beach this weekend. Got the water pump fixed on the 70 V-Code Roadrunner. Yes. Only like 30 more things to go. Yes, and I robbed some ignition parts of it the other day. Whoopsie. That's my bad. And I robbed a battery that I put in there, which I robbed from something else. Billy Porath just dropped in 11 minutes ago and said, hey, bud, just sitting here working away on the projects for you. Awesome. Thank you for that. I'm very excited. Timothy Russell dropped in and said, hello. How's it going, Timothy? Oh, and he also said, happy 4th of July weekend. Thank you very much. And a happy holiday to you as well. Ooh, Mohawk 62 said to Big Ranch, I just subbed you. You got some neat stuff on your channel. Now I have to go. Very cool. I know I've mentioned this before. If you guys haven't checked out Donnie's channel, Big Wrench Tech, you should do that. He's in the growing stages, but he works on all kinds of nifty stuff over there. Mustangs for some reason, MGs for some reason, occasionally Mopars, Audi TTs for some reason, airplane golf carts. There's all kinds of nut stuff going on at Big Wrench Tech. And he just bought a 73 Roadrunner. Would it be rude if I said tribute? I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's the same as a Roadrunner in my eyes. And so I'm sure we'll be seeing that as well. Oh, and Corvettes. Don't forget Corvettes. Anyway, let's check him out. Javier Macias is with us and says, bought a new brake booster for my 73 Duster project, but brake pedal stays stuck at the bottom unless I pull it up with my foot. Any advice? Yeah, your new brake booster is probably bad. Yeah, no good booster is going to do that. Even if you've got like 0 brakes, it should come right back up. Captain X wants to know, Jamie, question. Hold on. Let me finish this thought. If you disconnect the vacuum, does it still stick to the floor? Or can you pump the vacuum away and then it's super firm? If it only pulls it to the floor when there's vacuum, it's a bad booster. Captain X says, Jamie, question. How difficult is it to replace the entire fuel line on a 56 Power Wagon? Not too bad. It's just metal line. You'll have to hand bend it. You might have to make it out of a couple sections because it's pretty far back there. Yeah, not too bad. You know, Power Wagons are simple trucks. They're so simple. Mine has been replaced with like a copper line or something. It's also much shorter because it's got that auxiliary tank I mentioned right behind the cab. I apologize for shaking the camera everywhere. I can't help it. Billy Porras says, oh, and I have the 48RE in my 03 Cummins. Just don't forget to take off the overdrive because it will puke fluid out of the vent. It'll be seen from a scene from Murder, She Wrote under your truck when towing. It shouldn't do that. It shouldn't ever do that. There's something bad happening there. If it's pressurizing and blowing fluid out, it should not do that. I think we talked about that on yours. Someone mentioned that before. Mine doesn't. I take overdrive off anyway. When I'm getting up to speed, if I'm going through hills, anything like that, when I'm towing, or like yesterday and today, I was hauling the big ginormous bed camper. So overdrive is off until I get up to steady speed on flat grades. It's fine. It should be fine. It should not do that. But again, it is very good practice to not tow with overdrive on, especially hilly terrain, tons of weight. My 03 Cummins does not care. It actually seems happier in overdrive. Now, I don't have a transmission temperature sensor. I've never seen the temp warning come on. It just, it's kind of weird. And mine is the HO, so it should have all the power. But when I've got the overdrive off, it kind of just gets to 55 and it doesn't really want to do any more. But it cruises along super happy, overdrive on, towing at 60, 65. So that's what I do. But I take it off for hills or anything like that, get to speed, that sort of stuff. So in a gasser that doesn't have the kind of something that's going to have to work really hard to tow, even an earlier Cummins, I wouldn't use the overdrive. My 02 Cummins, it towed way better with the overdrive off. I don't know why. 24 valve, the 215 horse one, 47RE, and different gearing. That one really liked overdrive off. But my 03 four-wheel drive likes overdrive, doesn't care. Dust Devil Garage says, yes, John Cope at Cope Racing Transmissions, who has actually, I think he follows me and he's been in these lives before, which is cool. John Cope makes a valve body to turn the RE transmissions into the RH. Now, I don't want to take anything away from him because he knows a lot about these transmissions. But according to my reading, the valve body that turns an RE into an RH is an RH valve body. You just put that in there. The only other thing you have to do is change the governor. The governor in the RE is an electronic solenoid, so you don't have the controlled by an electronic solenoid, so you don't have the weights, the governor weights, and the governor weights for a diesel versus a gas are special. So you got to be mindful of that. Otherwise, not a big deal. As I understand, I haven't done it myself, but that's according to what I have read. You just put in an RH valve body and an RH governor with weights, and you're good to go. Timothy Russell says, keep doing what you're doing and you'll get 200K. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. So thanks for that vote of confidence. I appreciate it. Dylan Smith says, P1765 and P0753 codes with the 46RE. Let me check what those are because I don't have those numbers memorized. Honestly, the only ones I do have memorized are the standard ones. 1765 is a relay code. I was actually talking to someone about this in a comment recently. Faulty transmission control relay harness is open or shorted, poor electrical connection, etc. The PCM somehow monitors the voltage coming from the transmission solenoid. And so 1765 is for that. I suspect the 0753 is related. Is that the governor code? P0753 Dodge. 753. No, that's shift solenoid A, electrical 1-2, electrical abnormality. But that could be related to the same thing. If you've got a relay glitch and it just happens to notice, it's probably the same thing. And it's probably going to come down to either your transmission relay, which should be in your relay fuse panel, or one of the circuits going to it. Wiring to the transmission, also possible, I would think. But that's what it is. I'll bet you the relay problem is the big problem, and the shift solenoid code is again, it lost power. The computer noticed it was trying to shift 1-2, and suddenly there's no power. It could be the other way around. It could be like there's a short in the 1-2 solenoid that pulled power down enough to make it think it's a relay problem. It's one or the other. Trying to think what the most reliable way to test that would be. I don't have all data, so I don't have the factory test procedures for every code available to me. But yeah, I mean, it's transmission electrical. So, it's either the relay or that solenoid or the wiring between the two. Wiring harnesses inside the RE, that can be an issue. I've heard it somewhat common. I've only ever had to change one myself, and I think it was because the plastic was broken. But that's possible too. It could be the wiring in there. So I'd say start with visual inspection, throw a relay in it because it's cheap and quick. If that doesn't fix it, you're probably going to drop the transpan. Maybe just have shift solenoids and wiring at the ready. That might be the move. Timothy Russell says, I really loved your video and the run what you have. Doesn't have to be perfect. You really made me reevaluate my plans for my 70 Roadrunner. Awesome. My stated goal with this stuff, I have to say, I've had a few comments that are like, okay, quit talking and get back to doing what you're doing. But on those videos I've been doing recently, which are admittedly sort of in the vein of what Uncle Tony does, little different perspective, definitely different production techniques, but similar message. And that's, you don't need high dollar parts. You don't need a full restoration. You don't need to do all that. The TV makes you think you should, but should you? I've done a few videos in that vein within the last week, a couple weeks, just sort of giving my perspective on all of this. And it's really how I view these cars. And I'm really a run what you have kind of guy. It's great that I have a couple painted cars now. That's awesome. But they don't have to be pretty, I'm more about what a car will do. Daily drivers, budget hot rods, that has always been my thing. That's what I'm interested in. And that's what I'm trying to profess on this channel. So my stated goal, as I have mentioned, is if I can help one person go, you know what? I don't think I should tear this car apart in my garage. I don't think I should spend all this money. There's nothing wrong with what I got. I will deem this a success. So if I've helped steer you in that direction, awesome. Super pleased with that. Donnie's Black Lab is watching the live now. You can't see it, but I'm on the TV there. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Anyway. I like the spooky print above your TV, Donnie. It's good stuff. David Reeves says, I don't really know much about Dodge stuff. I picked up a 92 Dodge D100 with a 3.9 in auto. Hadn't run in 10 years or more. I have a couple of options with 1990 somethings 5.9s. Any advice? Yes. Behind the V6, they actually did use the smaller 904 base transmission. You're not going to want to use that. Unless you're not doing any truck stuff with this truck and you're really easy on it. Power will break it. So you're going to want to upgrade the transmission as well. Later 90s engines are better. Earlier 90s engines are OBD1 type stuff as your 92 is. So the wiring is very similar. Even the later one, though, also very similar. and kind of better. So if I were you with a truck like that, I would adapt to the 96 and up OBD2 Magnum. I would get a matching transmission for it. It's going to fit right in there, you know. That 92, you probably have an overdrive, so your drive shaft should still work. Your cross member and mount should still work. Vans could still have non-overdrive. I'm not sure on that pickup. I bet you have overdrive. So yeah, that later transmission, everything is the same. Mount's the same. Drive shaft's the same. The controls are the same. No problem there. The color codes, and I'm not even sure on 92 V6 if that's Magnum yet or if it's still TBI, but it almost doesn't even matter because the color codes are the same. The PCM power, the ground, the key power, the relay control wires, they're all already there. The relay's already there. At least the auto shutdown is. It's such an easy swap in a truck like that to wire the Magnum. That's the way I'd go. If you're a TBI V6, you're going to have to change the fuel pump in the tank. But again, the tank wiring's already there. Like, easy. If it's a Magnum, I think the V8 exhaust manifolds will even hook right up. Although there are different outlet sizes, so your mileage may vary on that. That's the way I'd be looking. I think it would be perfect for a truck like that. I mean, you could always forget everything I just said and go carburetor. But if I were in a 90s truck like that, I would just stick with the best of the 90s technology that you could get. And that's the 96 and up OBD2 5.9 Magnum and probably its matching automatic transmission. Now, as I've mentioned in this live, those transmissions, not the best. So make sure you got a good one when you start. And in that truck, you will want to add an additional cooler if you're doing hot rod stuff. Freshen any transmission you're going to put in there. At least do a filter kit and that kind of thing. You're going to run the ATF +4 in that transmission. Put a big cooler on it. If you buy a reman transmission from Jasper or a lot of other companies, they include a big gnarly cooler and say, put this in or you get no warranty. So that's good advice to follow. But yeah, that's what I would do if I were you with that truck. Hopefully that helps. Cave Dave says, I'm late. We had some strong thunderstorms come through and messed up the town's fireworks. I'm bummed. That is a bummer. Nah, glad you made it. In any case. Luke Tichenau, also late, says late, but here. How's it going, Luke? And Dan Tupper says to Dave Reeves, yeah, I'm assuming that's the 3.9. The tranny may be a regular lockup 904. Yeah, 92, I think those were still available. You could still get a lockup non-overdrive transmission in vans. I had a 95 Ram van. It did not have overdrive. So they stuck around for a while in those things. But the flip side of that, I think that was a 2500. That was a cargo van, work van. The flip side of that is our 91 did have overdrive. So it varies. It depends on how it was ordered, how it was set up. Luke Tichnell said, oh, I didn't know if you or your brother would want those Valiants, but was priced well for 2, I thought. I would agree. You know, it seemed pretty reasonable. That's on the other side of Washington, like all the way on the other side of Washington. So it's really far from us. I am currently project rich, which is a nice way of saying poor. I've been trying to sell a couple things. Nothing is selling. It's just not really a good time for that. I sold a set of cylinder heads so I can afford to eat for a bit and buy some more music gear. And register the Chrysler 300. Need to go get that done. I missed it this last week. Things got kind of tight. But basically, and I've talked about this a little bit before, there's an equation. Tom knows about this. It's distance versus cost. If a car is $500 or less, I'll drive a couple hours for it. If it's also, I would have to drive there twice. So we're now talking about 20 hours of driving or more. It's over there for 2 cars that aren't exactly my dream cars. If those things were down the block for that cost, yeah, I'd be talking to the guy. But if it's a ways away, it's got to be really, really affordable. I'm talking like $500. So yeah, that's just kind of, it's interesting. And as the channel has gone, people have said, hey, you should build one of these. You should build one of these. You should do a Colt. You should V8 swap a K car. I take projects as they come. And as you guys can see, there's no shortage. They show up. They just show up. So I take them as they come. The cheaper, the closer they are, the better. And it's worked pretty well for me so far. But I do appreciate that. And it's funny, the Mopars like in my area, 3 to 5 people send me the links on Facebook all the time. It's just so funny. I got a lot of enablers in the group, a lot of them. And don't tempt my brother because he has no more room for cars. He's not allowed to have any more. Having said that, he really wants to buy my daily driver Barracuda. Donnie says, I appreciate the call out. I like Roadrunner Tribute. Not offended at all. Roadrunner Tribute car video is coming out soon. Cool. So again, check out Donnie's channel, The Big Wrench Tech, for that. Oh, wow. Cave Dave says, I drove 662 miles yesterday to pick up a $100 rear bumper for my Plymouth. Is there anything wrong with me? I don't think so. What the hell was that? For one thing, you're collecting the kind of parts that like money can't buy. 662 miles, so that's probably 12 hours of driving. My brother drove to like Arizona for a 64 Plymouth Grill once, so he might have been going by there for something else. I don't remember. But no, especially Dave, I assume you're like a one car type guy. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. I've also noticed, and you're not the only one who will do this, when I'm selling project cars, no one wants to drive to come get them. And I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere here, so it can be hard to do. When I'm selling parts or parting out cars, which I try not to do at all, people will drive a long, long way and happily pay for parts to leave the car in my yard. So you're not alone in driving a long way for parts. Rooster had to peace out. He says, well, I got to run, boys. Nice to see y'all. Going to Milwaukee in the morning to haul a boat. Will you have fun, Rooster? Take it easy. Dan Tupper says, I was thinking of going 5.9 on my 92, but thinking about going 400 big block, keeping the factory EFI. Kind of outside the box, but most computers are garbage in out. 400 CI big block with factory EFI. So you got to find an intake drilled for injectors, adapt the throttle body, or use a different one. Interesting thought. Then you'd have to tune it or a piggyback machine. Interesting. I'll be honest, Dan, I've had a huge interest in the Magnum EFI system for a long time. And lately, I'm thinking simple. If it's a, there are still reasons that I could see to go for it. Like I was saying, a 90s project where it just hooks right up. It's easier to do that, especially for me. It's easier to do that than try and do a carb. So in those sorts of applications, I'm all for it. In a classic, at this point, I still get it. It still makes sense. There's still a use case for it, but you know, my experience with Edelbrock carburetors in the last year or two has said, you know what? Maybe just stick with the carb. So much easier and easier to fix, easier to diagnose. There's no magic black box, and I like that. Nick Dirkett says, would the aluminum case overdrive A833 survive okay behind a big block, whichever I decide to go with, 361 or 383? Does that trans have a weak spot? That trans does have a weak spot, and the weak spot is the counter shaft is mounted directly in the case. In the iron case, it doesn't matter. And I can tell you from experience, holy shit, is it a tight fit in the iron case. The iron is tough stuff. It stays put. In the aluminum cases, the countershaft starts to walk in there and it ovals out the case. And when it does that, all of a sudden, the countershaft gears are not where they're supposed to be. The whole countershaft can move around, the clearances open up, and just generally are unreliable. And then you get a ton of really bad rollover noise. So like the one in our 91 van is exactly like this. And frankly, it doesn't even need an overdrive. I was talking about that a bit ago. I'd like to put a normal 4-speed in that if I could find a spare. that's any good. Excuse me. So in that van, it howls in first. It howls in neutral, because in neutral, it's still rolling over and the countershaft gears are rotating. Because it's a constant mesh transmission. Those gears are always moving. In neutral, it sounds like gravel in a plastic can or something. In first and second, it howls. In third, which is direct drive, it's silent, because it locks the two collars together at the front. So there's no power going through the overdrive. It's silent. You at least don't hear the rollover. But yeah, it's only getting worse. It didn't do that when we put it in there. So that is the weak spot. It is a problem, horsepower, torque, or no horsepower and torque. With that solved, it's fine. And I have one that's now in my daily driver Barracuda. It used to be in the 66 Barracuda behind a 360 with aluminum heads that made a good bit more horsepower than either of those big blocks in stock configuration. It was fine. It survived for years, well abused. So it can hold the power. The weak spot, again, is that aluminum case. Now, there's a fix for that. And the fix is you have a machinist oversize that hole and bush it. Put a bushing in there. Once that's done, good to go. But yeah, that is the Achilles heel of the aluminum transmission. And even the ones that don't make obvious noise, they just never seem to shift as nicely. Case in point, the one in my brother's Valiant, it is an iron case overdrive. You know, it might not shift nicely because of the clutch not disengaging. Different thing. And again, the one that I have that I've had in two Barracudas, it seems great. But the others I've had, they're just not as nice. They seem to wear out faster. I don't know. So yeah, it's something you can do. I would suggest trying to find an iron one or have your case bushed when it comes to that. Try it out. You know, if it's a good one, great. If it gets to that point where, you know, what I was just describing, pull it out and have it fixed or swap it. Not a big deal. David Reeves says, cool show. I do love your commentary. It'll grow. Thank you very much. I've been getting a whole lot more positive feedback lately. I do still have the odd person telling me I'm annoying or I don't know anything or I'm dumb or, you know, whatever. And that's just part of being on the internet. I heard this thing. I don't know if any of you guys are Queens of the Stone Age fans. I imagine a few of you are. But I listened to this. Neil Brennan does a podcast called Blocks, and it's on YouTube. So I listened to it on YouTube. And he interviewed Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age. I knew he had an interesting story, but it was a little more interesting than I thought. But he's a sharp guy and crazy. He's lived a crazy life. But one of the things he says in this interview is, if 20% of everyone hates you, you know you're good. So that was a good reinforcement for me. You know, I get these negative comments and it's like, okay, that tells me I'm doing something. It clearly appeals to a lot of people. It does not appeal to everyone. It never will. But that just tells me if I was generic, you know, if I somehow managed to make something that pleased everyone, how could it be different? How could it be groundbreaking? So, and I don't know that I'm super different or super groundbreaking. I'm just me, and I'm not ashamed to be me. So I'm going to keep doing that. And yeah, again, hopefully it keeps working, but we'll see. Man, I'm getting hungry. Got about 24 minutes left to go here. And remarkably, I am keeping up okay on comments tonight. If you've got any other comments, questions, anything like that, feedback on the videos from this week. I did put out 3 this week. I didn't do one today because I was camping. And honestly, yesterday's video, I wanted to do more for, but I kind of ran out of time. And I certainly wasn't going to put out another partial video. I just, you know, I'd rather just not release anything. I got to make sure I'm putting out decent stuff. You know what I mean? But anyway, if you got anything that you want to add about those videos from this week, please do that. And I will get to your comments here. Walter G, just because I was just talking about it, Walter G said Queens of the Stone Age rock. Definitely one of the better bands from early 2000s. They're actually from the 90s. Oh, and Andrew Dimsdale says, subscribed. Do you have Instagram? Yes, I actually plugged it earlier in this live, which I never do. You can find me under Dead Dodge Garage on Instagram. And I do update it periodically. Anyway, thanks again for that, David. I really appreciate it. Alice here says 2015 Power Wagon, no real change when tow haul mode is engaged. 18 Power Wagon, very noticeable, more aggressive shift pattern. That's interesting. I'm not sure which transmission they have in the 15 Power Wagon. My 14 half-ton truck had the 8-speed automatic, which they called the Torque Flight 8 in other applications. I don't think they ever called it that in trucks, although I could be wrong. Tow haul mode in that truck locked it to 7 speeds. It held the lower gears longer, and it downshifted early. So when you were coming to a stop, it helped you slow down. It was noticeable. I've been in other trucks where the tow haul didn't really seem to do much. It used to just be the overdrive button. I push it to make myself feel better, but in my 03, that's all it is. It's an overdrive lockout. In a Duramax truck or any GM, I think of that time, it was not just overdrive, it was a tow haul mode, and it changed the shift points, same as what you are noticing in your 2018 truck. GM's had that for a long time. Chrysler, they were a little slow on the uptake, as they are with many things. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is I see there are 72 of you out there now. Thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't clicked like on the stream, please do that because it helps me in my quest for world domination. But only if you like what you see. If you don't like what you see, don't hit like. Dan says the 3.9 liter kind of got hosed. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. Dan says, were those 92 904s leftovers, so the 3.9s got crummier parts? I don't know. I don't know on that. I feel like they're just overdrive 904s, but lockup 904s. Sorry. I think by then they had the electric control, but I really don't know. I'm not an expert on those. Jeff Gibson says, I have a 75 D100. Short bed, 318, 727 automatic, 3-speed. Want to install a 4-speed automatic with overdrive. Just use the toggle switch to turn the overdrive on and off. What do I look for? Year, model. The 4-speed automatic that you want is called the 46RH, or it's also called the A518, I believe, A518. But those were used in D100 pickups, D150s, excuse me, and D250s, two-wheel drive trucks. I'm probably going to get this wrong. I believe the first year for that is 92, and they were used until 96-ish. In 97, I believe the 46RE, the electronically controlled transmission, which we've talked about some tonight, I believe that came out in 97. So you're looking for about 92 to about 96. It's going to have a 3-wire connector on it. That's the easiest way to tell. It's an oval 3-wire connector. If it's the round 9 or 10-wire connector, that is the RE. The connectors are in the same places on the driver's side of the transmission behind the shift lever. So it points upward. You'll see it there. But yeah, about 92 to 96, that's the one you want. Any newer than that, you have electronic control, and you need a separate controller to make that work. Now, those transmissions are generally going to be an overdrive and lockup, so you can use just a toggle. The problem with that is when you're coming to a stop, if you have the overdrive and lockup on the same toggle and you leave the toggle on, your torque converter won't unlock, and it'll be dragging, and it'll stall the truck when you come to a stop. There is a really easy setup you can get. There's a website that has those parts. Someone has mentioned it here before. I can't ever remember what the heck it's called, but it's really easy to find with a Google search. There are pressure switches that you can use. There's a port on the transmission, the outside of the transmission. You put a T in there, and then there are 2 separate pressure switches you can use to control it. You just run power in, and then the feeds from those switches into the transmission. And then it'll run your lockup at about 45 and your overdrive at about 50 or something like that. Or maybe it's 35 and 45. I can't remember, but there are appropriate switches available to do exactly what you want. You don't have to toggle it every time you're on the highway. You don't even have to think about it. It's just automatic. So it's a really nice setup. You can always put in a switch to then cancel the overdrive for towing or hauling or whatever, or hills, which is nice to have. But there you go. That's the transmission you're looking for. Blake Gaddis says, I have a 99.59 Magnum to put in the 74 camper van. Would you carb it or leave it fuel injected? A year ago, I would have said fuel injected. And I have one fuel injected in my 91 camper van, and I love it. I love the power. I love the way it runs. I love the way it starts. It's really, really good. Knowing what I know now, I think I would run a carburetor for the simplicity, especially because what are you doing with a camper van? You're going hundreds of miles from home. You're towing, the carburetor just gives you that simplicity that I can take the doghouse off, smack this thing with a hammer, and I'm going to get home. That aspect of things. You can go to a store and buy a mechanical fuel pump. That's no problem. Or you buy one of those cheapo clicky clacky pumps at any parts store anywhere you can get home. If the Magnum breaks, you're not going to have as good a time. Now, so it's just kind of down to what you want. Now, again, I love the one in our camper van. It has proven itself to get 17.5 miles a gallon. It's great. It really is nice, but it's more complicated. I did a crappy job wiring it. It's never been a problem. It's been super reliable. I'm just afraid of the day that it isn't. How am I going to get off the side of the road with my family hundreds of miles from home? So those are the considerations. The Magnum is great. Fuel economy is great. Runnability is great. It's got a roller cam. You hit the key in the morning. You don't have to worry about idling it in the campground, running your heater, that kind of thing. But yeah, the carburetor on top, it's easier to make it run. There are more considerations than just that, though. You do also have fuel pump issues. You either need an electric pump for the carb, or you have to change the cam to get a mechanical pump on there. You have to decide what you're going to do for accessories. Yeah, there are some decisions to make there. If you do go with the EFI, again, it's a great EFI system. It is simple to wire. It's pretty simple to diagnose. As EFI systems go, it's not bad, but it's still an EFI system that you're adding to something that never had one. So tough call. Pros and cons for both. I am not taking the Magnum EFI out of the camper van that I have. I like it that much, so I'll tell you that. Walter G902 says, just found a Magnum 360 on Marketplace for $450 OBO. I'm thinking that might be a good candidate for my Volare. Ditch the EFI for carbureted. Everything I just said applies. Carburetor's great, but you're not going to be able to just stick a mechanical pump on there without changing the cam. If you want a roller cam from Hughes that does that, you can expect to pay $500-$600. The EFI is really good, but it's complicated. So it's a trade-off. What's your level on this? Can you wire it? Can you make it work? Can you diagnose it later? Or can you change the parts in the engine to make it work? Would you rather do that? Either or. They're expenses either way. All I can tell you is EFI or carbureted, the Magnum 360 is worth it. It is a fantastic engine. If you are going to change the cam and do all that, pull the heads while you're doing it. Make sure they're not cracked. They probably are. Dan Tupper says, I bought 3 pickups in the last 2 months. Got to be a good boy. I think I've only bought the one. So I'm doing all right. I think it's been 3 months since I bought the blue truck, so we're in the clear. Donnie Big Ranch says, I'm going to get going soon. I got to get the fireworks ready for the 4th of July and get some pies. Thank you for reminding me how hungry I am. And this was about 15 minutes ago, so Donnie's still here. Let's not fool ourselves. PATC, yes, thank you. I knew multiple people here knew that, and we've talked about it on the live before. I'm just bad at stuff. PATC makes a kit that has the switches that I was just talking about. That is what you want. They've got a website. They explain how it all works. They explain every piece you need and how to do it yourself. And then they say, hey, you can just buy the kit from us. And that's great. I have gotten that information off their site many times over the years. So, JB's Little Shop, just stopping in to say hi and hit the like button. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Walter G says, how far have you driven for a car or parts? Would you ever consider a cross-country trip if you found another 2-door Slant 6 1970 Dart? Just wondering. Cross-country trips are a big ask for me. I've just been turned on to a 7340 car, big project. It's too much money and it's too far, but it's a really good car. So I am considering, but it is in the, what's that state called? Nevada, California border area. So it's a long drive, and a cross-country trip at this stage of the game with a 7-year-old, it's tough for me to commit to going that far. My wife has to work. She can't take time off right now. We used to do trips. We used to do a couple long trips to California, Nevada, Yellowstone. You know, we'd be on the road twice a year. And so if we had the camping situation figured out, which we now do with a bed camper, or with a camper van that could tow, another thing that I've been planning for a long time, and we could just take a week off and go, I would do that. I'd love to do that. And I hope to be able to do it in the future. I also hope to be able to do long trips like that to go to events. You know, I'd really like to make the No Name Nationals, but that is a 2-week trip for me. So there are just some things logistically we have to figure out. Now, Mrs. Jamie has said she's okay with me taking off for things like this, you know, as long as we plan it right and we know what we're going to do with Junior. If she's going to come with me, you know, that's not a big problem. But again, having her cooped up in the truck to go drive across the country, it's a big ask, you know? So, yeah, I have done a lot of driving in my life. I've been to Austin 3 times. I've been to, again, Yellowstone. I've been to California, Nevada, countless times, Idaho, Utah a few times. I've been around, and I'm not afraid to drive. It's just we haven't been able to do a lot of that the last couple of years. And for cars, the price has to be right. So, yeah, if someone had the perfect car and the price was right and I could figure it out logistically, I'd be on my way. Vincent Inc. says, nothing beats a timing light and a screwdriver. And honestly, the timing light's probably extra. Just watch my video called The 5-Minute Fix. I got to do a follow-up to that. There's so much I left out of that video. So much. Anyway, Donnie's back. I forgot my lighter and the best fireworks in the world. Snakes and sparklers. Snakes and sparklers are the only ones I like. It's not about you, man. It's the consumer. Happy 4th, everyone. Be sure to hit the like. Hit the like. Mechanics dropped in with us about 15 minutes ago and said, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mechanics. What is your little picture now? I can't quite tell. Deranged turtle? Melted doll? I have no idea. We did that. Rich Jordan says, going to a Mopar swap meet and show next weekend in Belvedere, Illinois. Used to be at the Chrysler plant there, but now at Boone County Fairgrounds. Supposed to be a decent-sized show. Very cool. Very cool. Mechanics wants to know what is in that 64 Chrysler. I believe it's a 361. I'm like 68.5% sure it's a 361. Yeah, Walter G. Yeah. Here, we'll go to the second one. Queens got started in the 90s, didn't get big till the early 2000s. Yep. Great band. I love them. Tommy's kind of a nut. Glad he got clean. I had a big Queens of the Stone Age fan. Phase, excuse me. Queens of the Stone Age and Clutch. Mostly early Weirder Clutch. But yeah, my friend Drew and I, very good friend. He lives an hour away now, so we basically don't see each other. But we were both into those bands at the same time. He kind of got me into it. And it was all driving around in our band van with those just cranked on bookshelf speakers. Good times. Phillips Run, Drip, and Bubble Company says, I do a radio show, and people listen to me because they love me and hate me, and they all listen for that reason. Yep, sounds about right. You know, and I don't stress it. I did it first. There's something personal about people telling you that you're annoying. I took a little bit of it to heart, and then I found my focus, and I realized you'll never please everybody. Those people are out there. There are people that are not going to like what I'm doing. There are people that are not going to get it. There are people that are like, why are you wasting your time reviving that car when you could be restoring it now? They are not the viewer for this channel. You don't know what you're talking about. I've been a machinist for 59 years and you have to do this and you that. And you're an idiot. You should go to school and get off YouTube. Okay. You don't get it. And that's fine. It's just the same kind of thing, you know? But what they don't understand is that every hateful comment they leave helps me. It helps my videos get viewed more. So, you know, that's the other thing. I mean, and honestly, I hate to even mention him, but that's kind of the Whistling Diesel thing. Like, people hate him so much, and it's so well deserved. They have made him a millionaire by hating him. So, yeah. And I'll never be that guy. But again, to the degree that people really dislike me, it's still helpful. And according to Josh Homme, it means I'm a winner. Rich Jordan says, my 90 W250 had an A518, and the D250 I looked at did also. Okay, interesting. I was thinking for some reason the 91.2 range, I had an 89 Cummins, and it was still a 3-speed, but maybe the Cummins had it longer. Again, my 95 van still didn't have that. So there's overlap. And the thing is, my area of expertise is 67 to 76. I've had plenty of newer trucks, vans, that kind of thing. And I know a good bit, but I'm not rock solid on the changeover years. And the other reason for that is there's so much overlap. Like the Magnum 318 was in 92, but the Magnum 360 was in 93. Ditto the TBI. The 318 TBI was 88. The TBI 360 was 89. So there's that year difference to me where I can't just memorize this happened in this year. The little minutia, again, it's just kind of like, it's just fuzzy. I know roughly when it was. So early 90s, that's where you're going to find that transmission, the early 90s. And I'll put this on the board. I did mention it, but PATC is the company that makes the kit I was talking about that you can just buy. So there you go. Walter G902 wants to know, I heard you say in one of your videos, everything's coming up Millhouse. I think I've actually said it a few times over the last couple of years. What's your favorite Simpsons episode? Now, the thing is, I've never been a Simpsons aficionado, a connoisseur of the finer Simpsons bits in life. I used to watch The Simpsons on bunny ears in my bedroom when I was a teenager, but I've never watched the show consistently, religiously, with the nutso fervor that some people do. So no favorite episode really comes to mind. I have a good picture of the characters and what they're like and what they do, but yeah, I can't really think of a favorite, you know? I mean, and there are shows I watched way more than that, like Futurama, for example, or later in life, Archer, animated, you know, adultish, funny shows like that. And I can't really give you a favorite episode of any of those either. Venture Brothers is another great one. The Venture Brothers is fantastic. Welcome to the Guild of Calamitous Intent. But anyway, yeah, I don't have one. I don't have one. But there are bits that I like. That's my big takeaway. What was it? God, another Millhouse thing. Something like my shoes are wet, but my cuffs are bone dry. I can't remember. Anyway, everything's coming up Millhouse is just a bit. It's actually something my brother said a lot, so now I do too. Jeff Gibson says, thank you. 6 to 9 miles a gallon is killing me. Man, if you're getting 6 to 9 miles a gallon, there's something else wrong, pal. I don't know what it is, but something. Just like Jason talking about his truck only getting like 9 miles a gallon or whatever. Something is wrong. Michael Adamo is here and says, hello, everyone. How's it going, Michael? I'm running out of time here. Don't have a lot more time, but I'll get through these last comments, I reckon, and then maybe we'll leave you with a song. Andrew Tim Still said, I saw a comment from later on. Says, so your channel is mostly for old trucks. Wouldn't the majority of the material still be applicable to the 70s and 80s Dodge muscle cars? I haven't been here for long. Yes, Andrew. Again, my expertise, in quotes, is the 67 to 76 muscle car era. A little bit older on some lines, a little bit newer, sure. The information basically applies to all rear-wheel drive Chrysler from the A and early B bodies until the end of rear-wheel drive at Chrysler. Most of the stuff stayed the same. The suspension was tweaked a little bit, etc. But the powertrains, you know, there were things that came and went. Lean burn, that sort of thing. But basically, yes, it applies. And trucks and vans especially, and I've said this before, because the trucks didn't change. The vans didn't change. Even when they did change, they were still very similar, you know. Even the trucks they're making now are not all that different. Things are more stout, things are more modern, but yeah, I mean, things aren't that different. So yes, a lot of the material is still applicable. You know, if I'm talking about 70s trucks, you can go, well, this really applies to my 80s, early 90s truck as well. And it does in many ways. Dave Duck dropped in and said, go 340 Swinger Duck, go, go, go. I'm working on it. Haven't decided which testicle I like less just yet. Big Wrench Donnie says, one last thing. Hopefully that damn necklace will come tomorrow. Donnie got me an awesome present. I don't think I want to spoil it until it actually gets here. I've been everywhere, man. Everywhere. Michael O'Donnell said, Joe Dirt, Joe Dirt. So what if we are? So what if we're his family? You're coming at my boy all wrong. It's the wrong tone. You do it again, I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron. You explore the space. Bruce Dickinson, I'm just like you. I put my pants on one leg at a time, but when I'm done, I make gold records. Cannot forget the Eagles of death metal. Yes. Fantastic. There's some Eagles of death metal stuff I really like. That I'm big on the desert rock for sure. I never got as far into them, but you know, a little bit. Homie's Atmosphere. What's up, homie? And they hate us because they ain't us. Michael Adamo says, Jamie, do you have any experience with the Viper truck? I'm entertaining the idea of trying to get one as a daily driver. What do you think? I think they're cool. But I don't have any experience with them. No, there's one in my town. It's kind of like, I mean, hot rodded is the wrong word. It's a hot rod truck from the factory, but it's got the big wheels and tint and what else? He's got the factory body kit, of course, because Viper truck. I'm sure it's got a wacko exhaust, and all I know is that they are quick. Walter G902 says, I know too many people who love Clutch. Clutch is from Germantown, Maryland, which is about 40 minutes from me. Nice. I hated Clutch at first. It was the annoying repetitive music that Scott, who I used to work for and who's usually in the comments, being a troll, played in the work truck, and I really hated it at first. And then it kind of grew on me, especially when I listened to their first album. Or excuse me, not their first album, the eponymous, is that the word? Whatever one's got Space Grass on it. Anyway, that album was great, but they actually did have one before that, which it was a little weird even for my taste. But yeah, I got really into that stuff, and then I realized that they were good. I really, really liked Robot Hive Exodus, which is weird because it's a little more mainstream. Elephant Riders is just weird, but in a good way, I think. And so, yeah, anyway, I've actually seen Clutch twice, which is cool. And they played Space Grass the second time I saw them, which was awesome. And then Lamb of God took the stage, and I left. Miles wants to know, why aren't you camping? Because my wife has to work at like 6 tomorrow, so I couldn't stay out there. Wish I could have. Al Sear says, wish my southern neighbors a happy and safe 4th of July. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I wish my northern neighbors a country that stops catching on fire and then filling itself with tornadoes. Rich Jordan, of course, we're winding down here. It is definitely leaving time. I'm going to be getting out of here in a minute. I am very hungry. Rich Jordan says, have a great week. Happy Independence Day. Blake says, I thought I was a mod. What happened? Funny jokes. I don't know. Walter T902 says, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, #1 in the hood, G. Carl, do I have a Carl? I think I have a Carl impression. I can't. It's gone. I used to have a Meatwad, but I can't. No, all the impressions from that show are gone. I actually really did not like Aqua Teen at all in my younger years. And then for some reason, my wife and I watched the entire series not long after we got together. And I enjoyed it. It was just it's a little lowbrow for me. My sister's right on time as usual. Nice. Bob says, happy 4th, everyone. This is my favorite 2 hours of the week. Aw. ATHF. Aqua Teen Hunger Force is funnier than most anything. I agree. I did get it. It's very funny, but just also very dumb, intentionally dumb. My favorite part of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and I hope this doesn't upset anyone, is the goofy aliens. I love them. I want to steal the moon. God, I used to I had an impression of those guys, but it's gone. It's gone. Also, for some reason, I used to just say space guitars all the time. Jeff Gibson says, was a forestry truck rear gears between 488 512? I don't know. I really don't know. Whatever they wanted. You can't beat my meat for a special treat. Don't try to church it up, son. Your name is Dirt. Walter G says, don't open your goodie box I'm sending till you go live next Sunday. All right, sounds good. Are there snacks in there? I still have ketchup chips. Oh, now it just seems like a waste. Tara, still don't know. Is back with us this week again and says, hey, Jamie, do you by chance have a spare 727 dipstick laying around? Broke mine the other day. I don't. And the call Wildcat Auto Wrecking, maybe. Dang it. No, I don't have any spares. I probably need more myself. I don't think we even have one. Meatwad, get the honeys, see? Oh, Donnie's got a Meatwad. All right, cool. All right, well, let's see what we got. Here we go.
Hey, man, what do you mean you can't do a
Meatwad! I don't know. Brain fart. Maybe I had a stroke. Anyway, yeah, they're kind of hard to find online, too. The only ones I've seen are those stupid, universal, flexible cable type that read wrong. You don't want that. You really don't want that. And Blake says Jags doesn't have them either. Sucking on me is really neat. Paul Schwach, the diecast guy, says Mopar or no car. Damn right. Everything is better with some cows around, according to Core Blonde. Core Blonde I haven't gotten into at all just yet, but I am into that kind of stuff. Michael Adamo says, very good. He says, I'll stab you in the eye. That's got to be stab you in the face. It's got to be. That might be one of my better impressions. I don't know why my face does this thing, but it does. Soldering iron, Joe Dirt. I swear it's a stab you in the face.
What'd you say?
What'd she say?
Oh. Huh. You're talking to me all wrong. It's the wrong tone. You do it again, I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron. Is that right?
Is it?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Stab you in the face with a soldering iron. And now that's fair because I get a lot of those one-liners wrong. But I'm sure on that one. Anybody's to the front. Sports trivia. Tara says, dang, yeah, that was my problem. Looking Happy 4th. Sorry I'm late this time. I was watching your newest video, then saw you were live and popped over. Well, thank you for making it. I don't know why my computer keeps doing itself. All right. Watch the hair. Let me ask you something. Play something and go eat. All right. My sister says if we're good at one thing, it's communicating exclusively in movie quotes. Yes, but sometimes we also get them wrong, but we're sure we're right for years. 5 o'clock's looking good. I hate it. I was actually going to shave it again before I go live. I don't like the awkward stages between no beard and beard. I just don't. Someone asked for Chris Stapleton last week, and I know exactly one Chris Stapleton song. Oh. Shit. Dodge swinger. Good stuff. Good stuff. I learned how to play regulator once, kind of. That's wrong. There it is. I can't actually play the whole song. What was I gonna do? I think I was gonna play the one Chris Stapleton song I know, which I've done on here before. Actually, is that cheating? I don't know. Still thinking. I gotta go. Plain Brown Rapper wants to know. Got a tech question. What are the best factory heads for 360? I have a 1980 360 that probably has garbage, smaller heads. Well, the 308s are a little bit better. They're still open chamber. You can actually do closed chamber 318 heads, raise the compression, raise the velocity, make tons of torque, but not horsepower. Kind of depends on what you're going for. I've got factory ported 360 heads on mine. Works. David Reeves says, would it be wrong to put in a small block Chevy with a turbo 350? A lot easier for me. Yes, it would be wrong. I used to spend my nights out in the bar room, where the liquor was the only friend I knew. But you rescued me from hitting the bottom. That's the wrong. I did that wrong. Hey, you brought me back from being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. Honey, I stay stoned on your love all of the time. All right, good enough. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Really appreciate it. I'm going to go get something to eat. So I hope you have a happy 4th. As Dan says, don't detonate any body parts. You need those. And I'll see you next week, I guess. Yeah, what they said. All right, take it easy. Bye now.